Hello, everybody. Caveman TCG bringing you a Albaz Strike 3 structured deck budget deck profile. Now, the structured deck Albaz Strike is a very good structured deck with reprints like Pot of Extravagance, Effect Veiler, Ghost Ogre. You are able to compete with higher decks or even some meta decks. Now, this structured deck is good to take to a friend's house or your locals and, in general, just have fun. Also, for players coming into the game or just players coming back into the game, I think this deck is a real good deck to just hop in and just have fun with. But um, Breaking on with the deck profile, now I have a discussion about the structured deck on my channel already. I have another Outbass deck list on my channel, so I've gone through over these cards multiple times. So I'm just gonna get straight to it and try to get through it. Like most of these card effects we know or we should know. If not, you can always go visit those videos. But I play 3 Fallen Albaz. It's our main monster. It's our super poly on legs. This is going to be the card that's going to take off those bigger monsters from your opponent's side of the field and to bring out your fusion monsters. Afterwards, we play the 3 Spriggans kit. I said before, this is your Aluber, your discount Aluber, basically your budget Aluber. This is a card that's going to search out your branded fusion or any of your branded spell traps. But if you do, you have to put one card from your hand in the bottom of your deck. Also, if you have a fusion material card that's in your graveyard that lists Fallen Albaz, you can special summon this card. So it could be your special, it could be your normal summon, or later on it can be your special summon. So it can extend actually. I play the 2 Tri-Brigade Mercurier. This is your hand trap. Any card that activates that targets. Right? Is it target? Oh no, just while you control it. If this card comes out, the activated card while you control a Fallen Albaz fusion, you can just basically discard this card and negate that card. It has a second effect also. If it's banished, this card can actually search out your kit to search out your branded fusion or any of your branded cards. So it's a hand trap, and if it's banished, it can search out a monster that mentions Fallen Albaz. So mostly you'll bring out kit. The 1 Golden Soul Sword. This is basically your battle hand trap. If they try to come in and attack one of your fusion monsters or any monster, in case you can drop this card down. Yeah, special summon him, and he will negate that attack. But if you had a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Albaz, you can destroy him instead. And another effect, when he's banished, you can actually special summon a light spellcaster monster with the same attack, same defense, from your hand or graveyard to the field. This deck doesn't have Ecclesia. This deck does not have Ecclesia. And the only one they offer you really is Dogmatica for the lease. So basically, you'll special summon her through the Golden Soul Sword. And when she attacks, she's gonna boost the attack of every Dogmatica card by 500. So she would go up to 3,000. We play the 1 Albion. Albion is basically gonna be sending your branded spells or traps from your deck to the graveyard, and at times also drawing you one. When Albion's in your graveyard, his name does qualify as Fallen Albaz. We play the 2 Keeper Dragon Magic. This card is also a searcher basically for your branded fusion. When normal summon, you can get rather polymerization if you're running polymerization, or another structured deck. I believe I'm not running it, but fusion substitute also counts as polymerization, so you can get that one. Yeah, this is basically gonna be your one of your normal summons where you can grab Branded Fusion. And if you did have Fallen Albaz in your graveyard, you can discard one card and basically set that Fallen Albaz in defense position. So it's another one of your searchers for your Branded Fusion. And if you had Branded in white, you can actually poly off Keeper Dragon Magic with your face down Fallen Albaz card to make Lubellion. And we want to be hated, so we will be using artifact scythe. In this deck, I don't think we have a way to really pop it on the field, but we can actually use Branded Fusion, send this card from our deck to the graveyard, and then we have to special summon basically the scythe on their turn to the field to get the scythe lock. So Branded Fusion is how we're going to get this to the graveyard. And play the 2 kaijus. Get over their bigger monsters. Use those kaijus as fusion materials once you put down Fallen Albaz. There we go. Now for our hand traps, we're good. We're happy or good enough to get some hand traps in this structure deck. Effect Veiler is basically going to be your budget infinite impermanence, but you have to use it on your opponent's turn. Do note that this card targets basically one effect monster you have that's faced up on the field. So if I believe if the card is removed, correct me if I'm wrong, if they target a card and they try to negate it, and if it's removed from the field, your effect still goes off, so the negate doesn't happen. So be careful with that also. And we also play for the last of the monsters, 3 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Basically, this is gonna pop any card on their field that attempts to use their effect. You can use it from your hand. You can use it while it's on the field also. The effect still goes off, but it takes out the card. And if it's a continuous spell, continuous trap, or a monster card on the field, it will pop that monster. So if they're going to use that monster for resources or want to link off or for fusion material, they no longer have that card. Now to our spells. We play the 3 main card of this deck. Branded Fusion. This is basically your Shadow Fusion, where you can send materials from your hand, your field, or your deck to the graveyard and fusion off for fusion and summon your monster. So usually you get your Albaz and a light monster, go into Albion, go into Lubellion, and you can just continue on from there. If you have another fusion monster in your graveyard, you can actually have show back the fusion monster and then bring out Mirror Jade. So there's a chance you can actually have Lubellion, Albion, and Ice Jade in the field. Like I said too, you also can dump out your artifact scythe to the graveyard and summon back your artifact scythe on their turn, and just basically lock them out the extra deck. I play 2 on the Branded Lost. I only play 2 because this card can be searchable, but I think it's too much at 3, but 2 is a good number. This is basically your magical meltdown of the invoke basically deck. Discard your fusions, summons cannot be responded to or activated, can't be negated or anything. And another good thing to know is that once you use this card and you fusion summon a monster, on summon you have to declare the effect, and that the Branded Lost card will still be activated where your opponent cannot respond to that effect. So if you already summon it and you're waiting for another response, then they can. But if you're doing it on summon and then you activate its effect on summon, they can't respond to it. And when you also fusion summon a monster, you can search out Fallen Albaz from your deck. Play the one Brandon and White. This is your poly for the deck. You can bring this back from your graveyard also too, because Kit also searches from your deck or your graveyard, so you can also bring this card back. But this is your poly. It's gonna summon the monsters from your hand or field, as long as it's a dragon monster. If you do use Fallen Albaz, you can banish monsters from your graveyard instead. Play the one Branded Bond. This card is going to get back your banished Albaz, a Balbaz in the graveyard, or summon one from your hand to the field so you can take off some of their monsters using his fusion effect. So basically, this is our way to summon Albaz that's not in your hand. And for the reprints, we play 3 Pot of Extravagance. Sometimes this normally you will not play something like this in a deck you really need your fusion monsters. But since this is a structure deck and you have to play what you have to play, we just load our our extra deck with just play sets of the same monsters, or play sets of monsters you really want to see. But this is also just a draw 2 card, so it's great. Basically, you'll banish 3 or 6 cards. If you want to draw 1, banish 3. If you want to draw 2, banish 6. But yes, draw 2 is always nice. Play 3 Dark Ruler No More, another great reprint in this structure deck. Basically, if you're going second and they have a board full of monsters, full of negates, full of interruptions, this turns off all their effects. The only thing that happens is that you don't deal no damage to them, but it's easy enough to basically fusion off their bigger monsters, set your fusion board up, and basically try to attack over the other monsters on their field to bring them down. Then if you also have Mirror Jade, it's another way you can destroy a card in their field. We play the one Call by the Grave. You would play more, but you can't because it's limited. This card is basically going to protect you from Ash Blossom. It's going to protect you from Bell or any other hand traps in the meta. Play the one Gold Sarcophagus. Banish 1 card from your deck. You can banish Soul Sword. You can banish Mercurier. And then you can search out, if you're banning Mercurier, search out Kit. If you have Further Lease in your hand, you can banish the Soul Sword, Golden Soul Sword from your deck to basically summon out the Further Lease. We play the one Branded Sword. You can banish amount of spells or traps that are listed branded, and you can basically set up a full board, or how many spells traps you banish is how many tokens you get, and each token has 2500 attack, 2000 defense. And if it's in your field, it's in your graveyard, if you set this with your Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, to the graveyard, you can just use its trap effect immediately. Just target one of your banished monsters that lists Fallen Albaz. Then you can add that monster to your hand. If it's a fusion monster, you basically put that fusion monster back into your deck. So basically this card will just bring you back your Kit. Basically any monster that have mentioned Fallen Albaz, your Kit, your Mercurier, your Branded Sword, but most likely you will be your Kit or your Fallen Albaz. But if you're going for the OTKYs or just trying to finish them off, those summoning 5 tokens out is just brutal. We also play the one Branded Retribution. This is our basically spell, trap, negate. So if they activate a spell or trap while you have a fusion monster on the field that controls no, not really. If you have a fusion monster on the field, you can bounce that card to your extra deck, or 2 fusion monsters that list Fallen Albaz from your graveyard back into the extra deck. Then it's not to also negate the card. And then if using, if you're dumping it with Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, it also has a graveyard effect And then the graveyard effect is basically, let me see if I can find it. Da, 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 da. If this card's in your graveyard, target one branded spell and trap in your graveyard, except random retribution added to your hand. So basically, this is going to recur your branded spells and traps. Like I was telling you, if you needed your branded in white, bring back your branded in white. If you needed your branded bond to summon your Albaz from your banish or from your graveyard, you can do that. But most likely, you're gonna try and get that branded fusion back. We play 2 back to the front. This is the card that's going to bring our fallen Albaz back from the graveyard to the field to pop off his effect again. But a lot of times, if you did have Artifact Scythe in your graveyard, you'll want to bring back Artifact Scythe from the graveyard on their turn to the field, and you basically lock them out their extra deck. I play the one warning point. Basically, this is going to be our negate. This is going to stop them from using certain monsters from extending to link ones or using them as fusion materials. And we play the one. There can only be one. This deck's not really affected by it. There can only be one. Every monster is different. You have winged beasts in here. You have beast in here. You have warrior in here. Spellcasters, dragons. The only time you're gonna get that conflict if it's like Albaz, about Balian. Basically, there's a Lubelian, Albion. They're dragons, so that kind of conflicts there a little bit, or the Shrouded Dragon also. So there's about 2 or 3 cards that will conflict with each other, and or some of your fusion monsters that have the same attribute as them. Not attribute, type. Basically, to the fusions, you want to. This is a extravagance build. You want to play sets of the cards you need most. Play the 3 Mirror Jade, Ice Blade Dragon. This card's basically going to pop a card every other turn. If you use his effect this turn, you can't use it next turn. And when he's taken off the field, he basically destroys all your opponent's monsters. Now the one that we want to see, or we want to have in there, Lubelion, the Syrian Dragon. This card is your extra fusion summon. By discarding 1 card, you can basically reshuffle all the cards into your banish or your graveyard back into the deck. You know, he's a light monster, but he needs 1 dark monster on the field, so that's where sometimes the Kaiju comes in. Radiant. Another one I want to see a lot or want to have in my deck is the Albion. This card's also same thing. It's your fusion summon. You fusion summon him out. You can actually fusion summon again by banishing monsters from your field or your graveyard. And when he goes to the graveyard, you can actually set a branded spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard. Now these cards, your ratio can be anything. Whether you want to have this at 3 or the other ones at 3 and 2, but I'm just playing a 2/2/2 build for the rest of the cards. Titanic Lad, a monster with 2500 attack. Now Albaz, he gains attack by that monster's original level, the monster's combined original level, by 100. And he's unaffected by fusion monsters' activated effects for that turn. Play 2 of the Burger Gory Dragon. Like I said, you can actually play this one at 3 and the other one at 1, or this one at 3. Yeah, the ratios can be switched up anytime or how much you want. But we play him just to have the other fusion. So if they do have a level 8 monster on the field, you can take that one out. Also, Spring, the Iron Dash Dragon. Same thing. If you want to play more of this one, you'll play more of this one, cut back on the other one. If you want to see this one more, if you want to see the other one more, you just cut back on that one. This monster's the fusion of it has to be do with a monster that is special summon that turn. So if you have back to the front, we put summon Fallen Albaz. And if they just put summon a monster, we can use this guy to take this summon monster and use that as material. And when he's sent to the graveyard, we can actually search out Springen's kit with this card. So there you go. That's been my Albaz Strike 3 Treasure Deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This deck is very great. It's fun. Hope you guys have fun playing it.